It's Friday night, and everybody's thinking about their holiday shopping plans. They're thinking about which movie to see. Maybe they're thinking SmackDown, they're thinking AEW. But you know what? Forget about all that because Sportswire Radio literally has outdone itself tonight with our guest. If you've seen places like the UWF, XPW, Pro Wrestling Venom, and the TF crew in the past, you definitely know this man. This man, figuratively and literally, has put his body through more than just anybody, even yet, we've had on this show. He's going to talk about, though, most importantly, maybe the biggest match of his career. Dare I say it, the biggest match, and especially for gold. That's right, that TF Crew YouTube Championship in the main event, right in the start off that year. January 6th, Saturday, 2024, 3 weeks from tomorrow. It'll be for that YouTube Championship against a man that came on here a couple of weeks ago and pretty much said everything in the kitchen sink and didn't seem like he was taking this match too seriously. Well, after those comments, his opponent's got something to say about it and some. Our guest, especially because he's wrestled the likes of Jimmy Controversy, who was on last week, I have to give him that introduction that very well could top Jimmy's and maybe even his opponent, who he's going to see in a couple of weeks. So with that, wait for it. Further ado here on the Sports Report. Number one. Global Sports Show. Simply put, we call him my friend. How are you?
We're doing magnificent.
Well, I certainly don't want to take those light tubes that you usually give to your opponents. I certainly don't want to be thrown into TVs like Jimmy Controversy was, and hopefully I'll do my best to avoid some of that. But obviously, it is an absolute tremendous honor, sir, to have you because, I've been having a lot of the different wrestlers that have been coming on here for the first ever TF Crew show coming up here 3 weeks from tomorrow, the North Haven Massacre. But you certainly very well were on a list for quite a while there of people that I really wanted to get on, and especially after the man you're going to face in the main event for the first ever live indoor event, the North Haven Massacre, for that TF Crew YouTube Championship, the Puerto Rican Prince, Angel Santiago. And Obey, I'd love to know, especially for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio, the number one global radio station, your reactions to what your opponent, the Puerto Rican Prince, the YouTube champion, Angel Santiago, had to say.
What more can I say? I don't take it as a threat. And it didn't tickle me not once. Everybody has the rights to their opinion. And not only that, they have the rights to praise their own self as much as they can. But coming with Obey, it's not another assignment they can complete. It's not another mission they think they can win an award from. Obey is much more than just a fight. Obey is more about conquering and as well making those remember why is it best to keep your mouth shut.
Interesting. So, do you think, though, then, after all that Angel Santiago said, certainly he was very confident, and I'm going to talk about maybe some of those things, but do you think then maybe as a follow-up, and I'll get to comments in a second, but do you think, Obey, that maybe he's either underestimating you or has no idea what he's in for 3 weeks from tomorrow? It was a funny question because
Ah,
you can take it two different ways there.
honestly, everybody says what they want to say until they come face to face with what they fear most. And when it comes to that time, they only find a way to escape from it. And I hope he doesn't find a way to escape from it.
Mm.
We hope he is man enough to face what made this world what it is today.
Interesting comments there. We'll have to see. I mean, because I kind of think after thinking about this and obviously watching you and kind of seeing what you've brought to the table, and I'll get to comments in a second. And I promise I want to say hello to some different people as people start coming into the conversation. Angel has certainly been impressive in his own right, but his style is totally the opposite in a way of what you bring to the table. I mean, you've pretty much, I mean, like you said, you conquer opponents. You put them through things that most men would never be able to get up from. I mean, what you've done in this year speaks for itself. Obviously, XPW, UWF, Carnage Cup. We've talked about all those different places in the intro. But do you think maybe in a way that there's nothing that can compare or prepare Angel Santiago for 3 weeks from tomorrow? And that's why maybe he's so boastful and was so confident, whether it's on here or the different social medias out there that we've seen him talk about you.
This right here is doing most of the work. But what he got in here is not well connected. Because when you connect those two, that's when you become stable. He's hiding a front, and it's nothing but a front. Angel could be tough as he wants to be in front of the cameras, say the things he wants to say, and pretend like he got nothing to lose. But he got something to lose. It's not just his popularity, it's not just the glory he's basking in, but it's as well that TF Crew Championship. And I would love to take that away from him and show him how much that gold can be without him.
Interesting. And of course, we are talking about the TF Crew's first ever live indoor event coming up here 3 weeks from tomorrow at an abandoned weapons factory. Now, you just can imagine the card that we have. We've been talking a lot about Jimmy Controversy, a man you have defeated. He's going to be facing off Hardcore. They've been going back and forth. I mean, we've got a who's who of matches here. And of course, in the main event is going to be Obey and Angel Santiago for that TF Crew YouTube heavyweight championship. And I have to ask you then kind of the silly question right off the bat then. So you talked about that championship for a second, Obey, and I have to ask you then, what would it mean to you to be the TF Crew YouTube champion?
What it would mean?
What would it mean
It
to you?
would
Yes.
mean that I'll just collect another nice buckle to go around my waist and keep presenting Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. And I remember hearing a little comment of his talking about torturing Puerto Rico. In Puerto Rico, we are known for being savages. In Puerto Rico, everybody knows us to be cannibals. Si tú no sabías tu historia, Ángel, googlealo. Because history matters, don't it?
True. Yes, history definitely matters. No question about it. And I would have to think, because of your background, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, he calls himself the Puerto Rican Prince. He talks about the fact that he basically is all over the place and he enjoys himself and he's got this group, the Syndicate. I almost have to think, for you, Obey, it's almost rather offensive that he calls himself the Puerto Rican prince when you yourself are also Puerto Rican. I mean, that's got to be huge motivation, knowing kind of in his way how he tries to represent your country.
A prince.
Yep.
Last time I recall, he is not Juan Ponce de Leon. Last time I recall, not even he knows an ounce of what that island can do to him, just knowing his percentage of being Puerto Rican.
Mm, mm, mm.
We are recognized by our people, and we are what they want to see out in that island because they enjoyed the blood sport. And who could give it to them is none other us.
You know, I was going to ask you about that. Obviously, you, in a way, are representing two countries, the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. And I would have to think maybe this main event means more to you than almost anybody else that could be in this opportunity, because wouldn't you actually, in a way, being the TF Crew YouTube champion would actually now represent multiple countries, whereas Angel Santiago, yeah, he's the Puerto Rican prince, he's syndicate, but he's been there, done that. You, on the other hand, this could mean far more than anybody else that's in this spot, because you could be bringing a championship home to multiple countries where we know of very few wrestlers right now currently representing those countries in this sport, wherever you want to define it, don't have much gold. You could really be that only the TF Crew YouTube. Talk to me about your thoughts on this, champ. You could, in addition to really being the TF Crew YouTube champion, really could be, in a way, the global champion, the global ambassador of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico by winning this belt 3 weeks from tomorrow. Is that a fair statement for me to say that you could really be the global champion on behalf of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico by winning this match and conquering, as you have said, the Puerto Rican prince, Angel Santiago?
Why? Thank you for telling me that. We have notes right here.
Mm.
When the Spaniards invaded on the west coast of Puerto Rico, right? On the Bay of Puerto Rico.
Yes, sir.
As we call it, the bastard Christopher Columbus, right?
Yes, yeah. Some
Yeah.
people still call him that. Who knows
El
what the
Idiota.
is? Yes,
El Idiota, right?
yes.
He claimed the island for Spain King Ferdinand and Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah, who are they?
So if you want to speak about king or queen, he must be a mutt. Anyways, he calls it that 15 years after Spanish explorers sent by Juan Ponce de Leon. Okay?
Yes.
Columbus didn't discover America. He never set foot in North America. He landed on various Caribbean islands that are now the Bahamas, as well the island later called Hispaniola.
Mm. Mm.
But Guanahani was the first land in New World sight and visited by Columbus on the 12th of October, 1492.
Wow.
The Philippine, my fault, the Taínos name of an island in Bahamas, which is now called San Salvador by Columbus.
Mm.
This is why we have the tattoos.
Mm.
We represent Taínos, which Y also connects to Dominicans.
Mm.
So we represent them, just like how Damon Blanco's mother is full Dominican.
Mm. Mm.
As for his father, was born in Ponce, Puerto Rico.
Mm. Interesting. I tell you what, I think what I've learned, ladies and gentlemen, is that you do not want to miss with Obey in any way. You definitely want to obey this man, and you definitely want to watch him in the ring coming up January the 6th in the first ever TF Crew live indoor event where he's going to be in that main event. He is going to be competing for that TF Crew YouTube championship. It very well could be now he could be the TF Crew global champion. In fact, he could be the global champion representing Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico once he takes that title away from the Puerto Rican Prince, Angel Santiago. So we've heard it here first. We are not going to mess with Obey, but you want to definitely obey him and follow him on Instagram at Little Brujo and also on Facebook at El Brujo. Make sure you follow this man. Also support our very good friends at the TF Crew on YouTube at TF Crew 69, Instagram, TF Crew. Let me get to some comments here. And people, I want to say hello to my buddy Ron out there in the state of Pennsylvania. Good evening, Tom. Thank you as always. I want to say hello to my buddy out there who today is his birthday, by the way. I want to give a huge, huge happy birthday to the co-owner of Resurrection Pro Wrestling, where a man that you defeated, Jimmy Controversy, competed not too long ago, and a man you know very well, Mr. Joseph Tibbs. Obviously, Mr. Tibbs is also the general manager in Resurrection Pro Wrestling. And I have to ask you, obviously, they've got a big show coming. I know you're a busy man. You get booked all over the place, but they have a show coming up on January the 27th called Lockdown. And we're going to have full coverage of that coming up. And a guy, Mac 10, is going to be here next Saturday. We're going to have Nep next Friday in your chair. And we're going to have a referee from Resurrection Pro Wrestling coming up earlier in the week, right before that. So we're going to have a lot of coverage of this event. And I was wondering, obviously, you have been a global renowned superstar. You've got wins left and right. You've been in there, the who's who of people in this scene. I mean, maybe you would want to show up on January the 27th out there in Tennessee for Resurrection Pro Wrestling's Lockdown show. Is that a possibility maybe for Mr. Tibbs to get in touch with you, sir?
Well, Mr. Tibbs knows how to hit us up. And most definitely, if given the opportunity, maybe we'll just, pop up like magic.
Hey, and you know what? I mean, and you and Jimmy got history, a lot of history between you and Jimmy. I mean, listen, if Jimmy says he wants to go back there, I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, you and Jimmy back in the same locker room again, back in another place. I mean, the wars you and him have had. I mean, I think Mr. Tibbs is as a smart businessman as he is, and it's his birthday. He could give himself the best birthday gift yet by going to Instagram, Lil Brujo, making sure you get in touch with Obey and seeing if you can book him coming up January the 27th Lockdown. Of course, Lockdown is also going to be streamed live on TikTok. So if you can't be in Tennessee like me, you want to go out there and watch the show, you have that opportunity. So, Mr. Tibbs, you know what you got to do as a general manager and co-owner of the company. Go message Obey, see if we can get that deal. Maybe even again, Jimmy Controversy and Obey, run that back. Although Jimmy had a lot to say about Resurrection when he came on here last week, but we want Obey also in there. Obviously, a lot I'm going to get into here in a short amount of time. I know you're very, very busy, man, but I had to ask the question that I've been asking wrestlers like yourself, prominent wrestlers this year, have traveled all over the place. Looking back, how did you feel 2023 went for you, Obey?
Well, we didn't have the key, but when we were given something to kick down, we were right there, front and center, and we made sure the world remember to see something new. So, welcome to our world.
I think that's certainly a good world there. And obviously being off that, obviously getting those keys and being welcomed into the world, as I ask a follow-up, since we're going into 2024, although I've been doing so much coverage on Sportswire of wrestling throughout the world, it feels like I was just asking people what was 2022 like and your goals for 2023. So I conversely ask you, sir, what are your goals for 2024?
2024,
Yep.
we just want to keep eating faces, tearing flesh, eat glass, smoke drywall, and make sure that the whole world gets a ticket to see the walking horror film Obey. Because there is no other action, no other comedy, and no other frightening thing to go to sleep to. at night.
Mm. I think it's a movie. I tell you what, the movie season this year really wasn't the most memorable one, but I can tell you from what I've seen in the ring from you, very, very memorable. And you're gonna get a little bit of everything. You might get some horror, you might get some drama, you might get some action, maybe even get some romance if you like glass tables, if you like thumbtacks, if you like needles. But at the end of the day, it's a movie that I would pay any amount of money to see, is what you do here in the ring. And obviously, we'll see what happens in 2024. Obviously, we're kicking off the show here for you in the year by going up against for that TF Crew YouTube Championship, which you very well may make that TF Crew Global World Championship, representing those two different companies. But I was kind of wondering here, especially for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, how did you get into this sport of wrestling where you've become basically this big time deathmatch superstar? I'm kind of wondering, and how did you get into this sport?
Well, let's tell you a history about Damian Blanco. Damian Blanco was a little boy who was introduced to the sport of wrestling. And from there, he carried on going to backyard wrestling. From there, learning that there are professional ways to do it. Started his journey from there at 18. And then coming to the point of problems with family, problems with the world, just not knowing how to get along. Just at the end of his wits, we entered his life, and we will carry on his pain, and we will inflict pain only upon our opponents, but to this vessel, you human meatbags called body.
Hmm. You seem to certainly use your body in ways that I would dare even say the likes of Hardcore and Jimmy Controversy don't do. I mean, you certainly seem to be comfortable in these situations. You seem to just be rather almost, I think you rise to the occasion in these different spots. Do you feel that way? And, all the different things you put your body through, that you almost rise to the occasion and kind of what you do out there in the ring, sir?
Well, let's just say Blanco's training definitely paid off because the sense of the mind of ours, how it works, we just don't have our own, but we fit into his.
Hmm.
And for his knowledge from those years of training, it just shows the skills that one human being can learn. But then to conquer other things, maybe they need a little push, maybe a little magic, maybe a little toxicity. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
No, no, listen, and Toxicity was a System of a Down album. That was kind of had Chop Suey on there. It seemed like you look like you've put some chopsticks in your head. Almost kind of like Chop Suey. Wake up, put it on the table and wake up. Almost like you've had some of that stuff there in the ring. So definitely it's worked. You've definitely got, you could definitely come out to some System of a Down. I mean, I know you got some different stuff you come out there in your reel. So I mean, that was some really, really good points there. I mean, obviously you've worked in places like XPW. We were speaking about this with Jimmy, and I have to ask you, what was it like being in competing in XPW? What has that experience been like there in that company?
Wow. That right there was a rush, a thrill. Hearing the people shout out such a name that has not really been pushed by its own carrier, but it's glad to know that people do pay attention, that people do enjoy a little negativity. And not only that, joy is positive. So if we got to give a little negative to give a little positive, we are willing to do so, just as long as we get to eat.
I like to eat. I mean, I was certainly, although my lovely lady friend from Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn, Zena, would tell me I should not eat at all, but I do like to eat. So I'm glad that you definitely like to go out there and eat. And certainly I have to then bring up some of the matches that you've had. I mean, JJ Escobar. I mean, I feel like everywhere I go, somebody talks to me about JJ Escobar. And what rather an interesting match that you had with him. And I got a chance to recently watch it a little while ago. And I mean, what was it like competing in the ring with JJ Escobar? And I have to think, after what I saw in the ring with you and him, you got some unfinished business there with JJ Escobar.
Unfinished business?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, whoever call it that, for we just have business and that goes on forever. but we did enjoy his rage. We did enjoy how his mind worked. And just to be in that ring with him, debuting at XPW as well, what more can I say? We want more. We want to terrorize some more. And hey, what can we say?
What we can say is we hope to see you again next PW. I hope to see you there, whatever it might be, whatever it may come. I know they have a big show coming up here this weekend, but I hope to see you there. I hope to see you do what you do best in conquering people, because I have a feeling Mr. Santiago was going to be very careful what he wished for here, because he was very boastful. He talked about this group, the Syndicate, and he basically said he's conquered everybody himself and he's dominated. And I feel like tonight, from what I've seen from you, just 22 days away from the first ever TF Crew Live indoor event, Angel Santiago very well could be eating some of those chopsticks, and he might be having in his background, wake up, wake up, because he's going to be having some toxicity, that's for sure. But we are here on Sportswire Radio. We are here with Mr. Obey. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling. And if you want to follow Sportswire Radio, you can do that in a number of different ways here. You can check us out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year on our brand new internet radio station, sportswireradio.org, where if you have a podcast, if you want to play some live music, if you want to be heard out there in the World Wide Web, you have that opportunity free of charge. I take care of all the engineering, all the production, all the putting the stuff together, and you get your chance to be heard, and you can get your friends involved. If you have a podcast, anything else you want to recommend to me, you can get in touch with me. And also, if you want to watch past, present, and future TF Crew coverage of the North Haven Massacre, check us out here on our YouTube page at Sportswire Radio 6579 backspace stream. And if you want to read about the TF Crew, you want to read about all things Sportswire Radio related, you can do that here on our brand new blog at Tumblr at Sportswire Radio, because we wrote about the TF Crew's first ever show. We wrote about the Puerto Rican Prince, Angel Santiago, and we're going to write about our very good friend here, Mr. Obey, and I've got more coverage coming up here. I'm going to be back on the air tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Eastern time, with the announcer of Dominant Breakout Wrestling. His name is Mr. DVG, and he's going to talk about all things Dominant Breakout Wrestling. We're also going to be back Sunday for 2 for the Price. We're going to have the Blaze Ace Christian, who's going to talk about his situation right now in DBW. And we're also going to have on our very good friend for the first time, Mr. Corey Graves. He's got a lot to talk about here when it comes to the world of DBW and some, so we're very, very excited about that. If you want to follow Dominant Breakout Wrestling, you can do that in all their links below at Dominating Breakout Wrestling, and on YouTube, where you can watch their last show, Thursday Night Thunder Punch, and also Facebook at Dominating Backyard Wrestling, Twitter at DBW Wrestling. So definitely check out all those great platforms. And I also want to congratulate somebody on Sportswire Radio, because I want to make sure I mention this here. I'm going to induct him into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And certainly when you win and become the global champion of the TF Crew, I'll induct you into my Hall of Fame, the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, Mr. Obey, because my very good friend, Mr. Ernest Dove, who's an accredited member of the media, who covers an affiliate in the New York Mets organization. He has been on Sportswire Radio for over 4.5 years, and he has covered a who's who, interviewed a who's who of players that have gone on to be big leaguers in the New York Mets system, and a few people we've even interviewed on Sportswire Radio, like Steven Nagosic and many other people that have been on. He knows a lot of different guys through and out, and he knows baseball. He knows the minor leagues better than anybody, and that's why I want to make him officially the 6th member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. We're going to induct him on December the 26th, right after Christmas. So if you got your eggnog, you got your presents all wrapped up and unwrapped, you can go tune in here at 7 o'clock Eastern time to hear Ernest Dove being the 6th member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. You can check him out on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and a number of different platforms, including Ernest Dove, D-O-V, like B-I-N-G-O, bingo was his name-o. You can do that there on Twitter, especially Instagram, Ernest.dov, and check him out on YouTube. So congratulations, Ernest. Thank you for your hard work, and I look forward to introducing you as the 6th member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, December the 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. But right now, we are here with the one and only Obey. He is the Human Horror Show. He represents not one but 2 countries. He is going to be in the main event coming up here at the TF Crew's live indoor first ever event called the North Haven Massacre, in the main event for that YouTube championship against the Puerto Rican Prince, Angel Santiago. And also, Craven Rage wants to say hello to me, saying that he's evening to the hottest talk show host in the world. Well, my lovely friend Zena would definitely agree with me on that. But that's who I'm taking to at the moment. Certainly, Craven Rage. I'm going to see you back on Sportswire Radio Monday night because the Kodak Kid, the picture of perfection, is going to be on here at 10 o'clock Eastern time to talk about his situation. But in the meantime, Obey, I have to ask you, Jimmy Controversy. I keep bringing him up. Jimmy Controversy. And, Jimmy Controversy was talking a big game about hardcore earlier this week. He's going to be there. You're going to be back in the same locker room with him once again. And you hold the victory over him. You also wrestle for his company. And anything you want to say to Mr. Sergeant Controversy? Because I know he's going to hear this, and I know he's always going to have something to say, especially after you threw him into a TV and pinned him in the UWF. 1, 2, 3.
We are friends due to it's so much fun beating him
Yeah,
up.
you do. You guys are friends after all the things you
Yeah.
put him through. Wow, that's pretty interesting. That's interesting. Yeah.
But
Okay.
when it
Tell me
comes
why.
to Blanco, they're not very much friends.
That I've heard. That I've heard.
But Obey and Controversy, when it comes to ragging him around like a rag doll, they're cool friends. But when you go ahead and you talk shit about people Obey calls family, I'm gonna slap you in the mouth.
You know,
You calling him a punk unless you're allowed to call him a punk.
I was wondering about that because Jimmy was on here last week, and certainly he was talking a big game. He was talking about hardcore. Hardcore had a few things to say about him. Certainly on Instagram, on the TF Crew social media pages, there was a lot there that we kind of saw maybe a response from Total Effing Chaos, and obviously I'm sure those guys are going to continue to heat things up here over the next few weeks. But I almost feel like in a way, Jimmy, maybe he's not underestimating hardcore, but he came on to this show and he was talking about wanting to wrestle a guy, Dean Allmark, who's basically a living British wrestling legend. He's wrestled the likes of Jushin Thunder Liger, defeated him. Brian Danielson defeated him. He wrestled in Impact Wrestling. He wrestled in 4 different countries. And he was boastful more about Dean Allmark rather than hardcore. You know Jimmy Controversy, Sergeant Controversy very well. You think maybe that Mr. Controversy is underestimating Mr. Hardcore by any chance by speaking about who he'd like to wrestle rather than who he's next? Yeah, you think so? Why do you think that?
Much, he should focus on the task that's ahead of him now instead of fantasizing about other things he could still make happen.
Yeah.
But, after talking shit, it doesn't give you a pass to want to talk about any other shit. If you're going to talk the shit, well, make sure you talk the shit where you could back it up. Because who's your favorite, who you want to wrestle with, you're giving who you're giving. So either eat it or starve.
Well, I guess that'll be Jimmy's issue to figure out. And I guess conversely, Pro Wrestling Venom, you want to talk about the experience being a part of Pro Wrestling Venom?
It's fun. It's a lot of chaos, which is fun for Obey. But for the likes of Blanco, he's getting frustrated so much about it. It's so he calls it unorganized. We call it home. But being Pro Wrestling Venom champion, it ain't so great right now. Right now, we will be holding such precious gold around our shoulder right now. But of course, GTS owner Grim want to be stealing shit from Controversy's mail and try to claim the title for himself. So we're gonna have to battle him at Yuletide Mayhem for it and become the 2-time champion without even fucking losing it. Makes no sense.
I don't, that's a good question because I guess anything goes in GTS, I suppose. I guess anything goes in
GTS. So, but once we settle everything with Controversy, meaning taking him out from the equation for the good Grim and I, we're gonna settle this shit.
Man to man.
Yeah, and
man to man,
leave the bullshit celebrity gimmick crap. Leave the whole overacting bullshit. Let's do this shit. Let's get this done. Give me gold. Because I don't want to go through this again.
Well, we certainly hope that that's not going to be the case, and obviously we'll be watching what happens in GTS, and obviously in Pro Wrestling Venom. And speaking of Pro Wrestling Venom, I want to give a big shout out actually to a few people coming on to Sportswire Radio who are actually a part of Pro Wrestling Venom, the Brooklyn Prodigies. They're actually coming on here December the 28th. So I'm sure you may know a thing or two about the Brooklyn Prodigies. In fact, before I get to comment actually about
brothers. Those are brothers.
you want to say anything about them? Should I know? I mean, I actually know them from a different promotion they're a part of called DBW, who I mentioned a little while ago, Dominant Breakout Wrestling. But I had asked Jimmy about them. But, anything you might want to say about the project that I can bring up when I have the guys on in 2 weeks from now? Anything you might want to share or know so I'll let them know, for sure. I'll definitely let them know.
Number one, empanadas. Number two, nah.
Okay, got to get those empanadas there. Definitely got to get those empanadas there. Definitely, my lovely lady friend there certainly is certainly happy about the empanadas being mentioned. So that's a good point there. Let me get to a buddy of mine who certainly has watched you quite a bit, and I hope he's recovering very well. He had a car accident earlier in the week. That is Mr. Skulls, the Soul Hunter from California. Good evening, gentlemen. Jimmy doesn't know when to quit. Well, that's Jimmy's middle name. I hate Grim so much that he turns his back on me when I offer him a helping hand because Skulls and Grim have had a rather interesting history, which you may or may not know.
Don't bring your problems here.
He's got some. Well, right now he's got some.
Now, if I hear your problems, it's just like no.
Well,
I know problems with Grim. I don't need to know new history.
Well, I would say though that I do hope one problem Skulls I hope that he gets better with is his health issue from his car accident. So I hope from that he feels better. But like you said, when it comes to GTS and Grim, obviously I'll let that sort itself out. But obviously, in the remaining time, I want to come back to the TF Crew Show. I could ask you a lot more things, but I want to get down to business January 6th. And first of all, Gabe Sayers. Obviously, Gabe Sayers has put together this company. He's put together this show. I mean, it's a really, really cool show. Obviously, it's going to be in an abandoned weapons factory. We've got a phenomenal card. You're a part of the main event. You've got some history, a lot of history with Gabe. Obviously, we know Gabe very well originally from the UWF, but you got to talk about Gabe Sayers and what he's done, you think, in terms of putting this card together and this company together, which you very well in 3 weeks from now could be reigning top over.
Keep pushing, motherfucker. Because Sayers himself, great kid.
Love Gabe Sayers. Gabe Sayers is a he's, you know what? I had a guest on yesterday, Justin Parsley, who may call himself the first real wrestler, but Gabe Sayers is a real dude. He's a real straight up good dude. Gabe Sayers, I talk to a lot of people in the world, especially in the wrestling bit. I guess we call it the wrestling business, but Gabe is just a real one. He's a good dude, and anything I could do to help Gabe Sayers would be my pleasure. He is just a good man, and I'm really, really rooting for him. And I have no doubt that he is going to put together a phenomenal show. And why? Because it's an abandoned weapons factory. I mean, how cool is that? That you guys are going to be wrestling the first ever live indoor event for the TF Crew in an abandoned weapons factory. I mean, it almost sounds to me like it's a Megadeth album. It almost sounds to me like it's almost like one of those things you saw in a movie that you guys are going to do this in real life. I mean, that's pretty cool. I got to be honest.
There's no better place for Obey to kindly be at home, settle somewhere, throw a little, sheet, a pillow, and just call it home for Obey, But for anybody who's in there, invited or not, there's just a couple rules. No screaming for help. And what happens there stays there.
And I'll tell you what, so far in the TF Crew, you've been undefeated. You have been undefeated in this company so far. And I think that could very well be your ticket because Angel Santiago, we know, while he's been undefeated as champion, he hasn't been undefeated in the TF crew. And this very well could be your ticket to continuing to do what you do best. And I think you've got no better place to do that here. And I was curious, real quick, before we get to some closing thoughts and a few other things. Is there anything else that you're particularly interested in when it comes to this show, or anything else you might be watching?
Watching
Yes, sir.
is the least that we can do.
Good point. Good
But
point.
paying
Yes.
attention is another subject.
Fair.
We pay attention to where people wants to see certain things, wants to see something new, be given the opportunity to either cry, cheer, boo, or just stand there in confusion and not know what the fuck to say. Everyone is old news. Everyone always plays the same card. But for as obey, things always change. We accept change and we give nothing but a change. You will not see us giving you the whole same gimmick, and you will definitely not see us there trying to entertain anyone as an individual. We will give you what we get pleasure from. So if we get pleasure from that, we definitely know you'll have pleasure too.
I tell you what, I have no doubt that you are certainly going to start the year off in style. January the 6th, there very well, as Jimmy Controversy put it, there could be an insurrection for hardcore, but I have a feeling that that's only going to be the tip of the iceberg, and what you're going to see when it comes to all things related to the TF Cruise North Haven Massacre. In that main event, we are going to see Mr. Obey himself, the human horror film, who's representing not one but two countries, square off to take away that TF Crew YouTube championship from the leader of the syndicate, the Puerto Rican Prince Angel Santiago, and very well could make it becoming the global championship, where he represents not one but two countries here. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, the host of the Sports Report, and the owner of Sportswire Radio. I want to say hello to my buddy, Mr. Joshua Allen, the founder and owner of Tennessee Backyard Wrestling, TBW, on YouTube, has almost 7,000 subscribers. Want to congratulate them from all their success. So, as we're coming toward the end of the show here, I do have to ask you about this group, Syndicate. They have certainly been running roughshod in the TF Crew. You have certainly seen them. You have certainly got a front row seat. I know that you obviously are a walking weapon. I know what you do in the ring. I've seen it with a who's who of people. You've been in the Carnage Cup even. But you have to have eyes in the back of your head knowing that Angel Santiago's got friends when it comes to Syndicate. I mean, what are you going to do to combat Syndicate's presence to try to tip the scales and keep that YouTube championship with the Puerto Rican Prince, Angel Santiago?
Well, as the walking horror film, they're gonna have to sit there and watch the movie. And if they want to be little extras with a little role in it of being a sacrifice, that is fine. Just as long everything ends the way it should end. Obey, standing over Santiago, holding the only thing he adores in the whole wide world more than his fucking girlfriend is the TF Crew Championship. And when I take that, I'm going to go ahead and place his hand right over it, take out my jagged ass knife, and cut his fingers right off. By the way, that's an IWA Deep South reference.
Yes, I got it. I got it.
And just kind of eat it right in front of everybody.
Mm.
Just so they will realize what true Puerto Ricans do. What true Dominican savages do. We just don't speak it. We make it happen.
Well, we're going to certainly find out. That's for sure. I'm going to definitely find out, to say the least. And again, if you want to follow the TF Crew, you can do that here on a number of platforms, especially on Instagram at TF Crew and YouTube, TF Crew 69, where you can watch TF Crew shows, TF Crew matches, and the likes of Obey in the ring. Let me get, though, to a comment before I get to closing thoughts from somebody that is also going to be competing in something hardcore like, and he is poised to take the IMF's first ever hardcore championship tomorrow night at Winter Clash. We saw him yesterday here because it is his show. He is the boogeyman of the Midwest. His name is Mr. Omen Black. He says, Obey, welcome to my show. The Syndicate aren't nothing but a group of guys who jerked the curtain to a so-called prince who hasn't truly met someone better than him. Better he hasn't met me yet. So obviously, Omen Black, certainly who's made himself quite a name. He is a superstar in many other places like the XCW, ROEW, CBW, WCE, and he's conquered places like you. So he's definitely in your corner, and he definitely, it's from one hardcore star to another. So Omen Black, definitely in your corner. He is no fan of Angel Santiago. A lot of people aren't fans of Angel Santiago, so you definitely got a lot of people there rooting
Angel
for him.
rolls around with a lot of princesses. You got me? A lot of princesses trying to surround the whole wannabe Disney queen.
So,
Okay.
so it's almost like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, right?
Yeah, they all sucking dick. Uh, but at the end of the night of January 6th, Angel is gonna have to face status night night forever. There is no Prince Charming coming through. There is no homie saving him. There's nothing. Not even the priest, not even the Pope, not even the best satanic priest, not even the anti-Pope. We live in darkness and we will continue on. Even when the sun rises, there is shadow in every corner. So you will be seeing us all the fucking time.
Well, obviously, we'll have to find out. Omen says Homie just got drunk to speak that promo. I think he's talking about Santiago. He's definitely in your corner. We're definitely looking forward to what you do. It's certainly the TF Crew's first ever live indoor event. You can certainly follow them again on YouTube at TF Crew 69, Instagram at TF Crew. Now, obviously, as we're coming to closing thoughts, it has been an absolute honor to have you. I know you're a busy man. You're thinking about who you're going to stab with, maybe some chopsticks, maybe some glass, some needles. Who knows what else you're going to do? But I was wondering, well, you might be getting something here for Angel
Fuck
Santiago. You
around
might.
and find out.
Angel Santiago. Angel Santiago. You better be careful with that syndicate because I'm telling you, look at what we've seen here in Sportswire. I've been doing this for 5 years and I have never seen somebody like Obey. Forget about Jimmy Controversy. Forget about hardcore. Forget about anybody else you may think of that calls themselves hardcore. Look at what this man just flashed. Angel Santiago, very well. You got 22 days. Enjoy your remaining 22 days as YouTube champion because you very well may be losing that title, but you also might be losing your life and your career here. And also, Omen wants to say shout out to Obey, Gabe, Caster, and Donnie Max. Obviously, yes, we love Caster, and also, and yeah, he definitely first time that. And my lovely friend here said that she is very happy that you're thriving, you're doing well, and she knows that you're going to take that championship away from Angel Santiago. And I want to say hello to John Moore on Twitter, who also has joined. I want to say hello to the Redhead. I want to say hello to from Boxing's Rank Noble for tuning in. So and Baz hasn't been here in a while. He's from one of my old Sportnarium group days. So thank you for tuning in from different continents. But as before I get to closing thoughts, is there any final words that you may have for the Puerto Rican Prince, Angel Santiago, before Saturday, January 6th, North Haven Massacre, TF Crew main event for what's soon to be your championship? Any final words for the Puerto Rican Prince, Angel Santiago?
To keep sleeping on his little goose feather up pillows. To continue on buying little suits that make no goddamn sense. To continue pampering his hands for what he does not do work with. If he thinks life is so richfully gained from his work, I say he's had it pretty light. So when it's time to carry your own weight, We will teach you something about lifting up your own
Mm.
problems, achieving goals in a way that you don't have time to pamper up your own self, where you just forget about your own humanity and keep going for what's the true meaning of life.
I don't think anybody could have said it any better. That's why you want to follow Obey on Instagram at Little Brujo, also El Brujo on Facebook. And I think Mr. Tibbs couldn't have said it any better. You are definitely as real and as true as it gets. What you see is what you get. And also, before I get to closing thoughts, you remind me for whatever reason when I was watching you in the ring, you almost were a cross of Umaga and Hakushi. If you remember Hakushi way back in the old early Monday Night Raw days, in terms of your like almost grittiness, straight, just almost, I'm going to just go out there. You're going to give me punishment, but I'm going to keep coming back. Almost very similar to Hakushi, almost kind of like a Dominican Puerto Rican version of Hakushi, at least in the face. And I said as a compliment, by the way, because Hakushi had some great matches with Bret the Hitman Hart, especially those matches. And he had a number of great matches, and he wound up having another great career in Japan after he left the WWF back in 1996. So definitely, those are my words. And I can't wait to watch you here January the 6th. I am beyond pumped. We're going to have more coverage coming up here of the TF Crew's North Haven Massacre. Time before the new year and right after the new year, because we're just 3 weeks away, and we obviously want everybody to follow the TF Crew here and support them, support the movement. Almost 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, TF Crew 69 Obey on those platforms before. And my friend, obviously, it has been absolute, real, true, an honor to have you on here. It is definitely, you have proven it to be a better horror film than Saw 10, a better horror film than The Exorcist, a better horror film than anything else, whether it's Silent Night, whatever it might be else that's out there in the box office currently. Forget about all of them. You have proven Anthem to deliver the goods, and I can't wait for January 6th. I want to give you the floor now. Any closing thoughts, anything else you want to plug, share, or say, and the floor is yours, and I can't thank you enough.
Well, we will be coming out with great news about merchandise soon.
Oh, yeah, get
And
that homemade merchandise, especially you, Angel Santiago. Get that merchandise.
we will also be trying our best to continue on networking and pushing forward for more other promotions. No matter,
Joseph Tibbs, Resurrection. If they got Jimmy, they can definitely get you. If they got Jimmy, they can get you.
definitely can. If they
And
can tell Jimmy.
Omen Black, IMF. He's in Iowa. Omen Black, Soldier GP. Get this man in the IMF. We want to see it. We want Obey. We want Obey. We want Obey. 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 We want him.
And for all of the people who have supported me and, had high hopes for me, love y'all. Thank you so much. And for those that hated on me and shit, suck a dick.
Well, you know what? I don't know if I can certainly concur with all that, but I will say to the haters, to heck with them, to everybody else, on with the show. Obey, you definitely support this man. Can't wait for that merchandise. Tag me when that merchandise comes. I'm going to be ready, rocking that shirt, getting ready for January the 6th. Man, I can't listen. If you think about it, your holiday gift slips will not be off without an Obey shirt. So forget about those holiday wish lists. Forget about the stocking stuffers until you get that Obey shirt when that merchandise comes out. Your holiday season is not going to be complete. So make sure you stay tuned to Obey social media and TF Crew social medias for more details. And we cannot wait once again. January the 6th, North Haven Massacre for that TF Crew YouTube Championship. For now, the champion, the Puerto Rican Prince, Angel Santiago, very well meets his own fate when he takes off the human horror film, Mr. Obey himself. And Obey is primed and poised to make that TF Crew YouTube Championship the global championship, because he will be representing not one, but two countries in Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. My friend, happy holidays, happy New Year. Can't wait to watch you in 22 days. Can't wait to cover this match and talk about the aftermath. And certainly we're going to congratulate you already, because we don't want to get on your bad side. And I hope that we see more unfinished business with you and Graham, and certainly you and Jimmy, and certainly Joseph Tibbs. You know what to do. And thank you so much. It has been an absolute honor, and congratulations on all of your success so far.
Thank you so much. And likewise on the holidays.
Amen. Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas to everybody. But we have more coverage coming up here in about 45 minutes or so. So hang on tight on sportswireradio.org. We'll talk about all things related to mainstream wrestling and plus some NFL picks, whatever else in between with my Sportswire radio team. But until then, we were just here with the legendary Obey, who is going to square off in the main event of the TF Cruise first ever live indoor event called the North Haven Massacre. He'll be squaring off with Angel Santiago, the Puerto Rican Prince, for that TF Crew YouTube Championship, which Obey is primed and poised to make the global championship, to be the global champion of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportswire Radio, the #1 global radio station, and your voice of all wrestling. And one more time, please follow TF Crew on TF Crew 69, Instagram TF Crew, and Obey El Brujo, and Facebook El Brujo. Until then, I'll be back in a little while. And thank you to Gabe Sayers and everybody at the TF Crew for granting us full access and full coverage of the TF Crew event, including Obey. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. On the #1 global radio station that is Sportswire Radio.